Hey there, guys. It's Tyler, and I'm going to be talking about meditation. What meditation actually physiologically and mentally does for the body, and what it can do for you. What sort of positive benefits you can experience from actually incorporating a daily meditation practice into your life. So let's get started. Firstly, some of the things that take place within our nervous system during waking hours is a constant balance between the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic one tends to be the automatic nervous system. It has to do with regulating homeostasis in the body and actually directly correlates to what's called the fight or flight response to the human body, which is wanting to run away from something in fear or wanting to fight it in self-defense. So the sympathetic nervous system directly corresponds to this, and in conjunction with that, there's also a hormone produced by the adrenal glands called cortisol, and this is actually by many people referred to as the stress hormone. And what cortisol does is it has a few positive benefits to it. It helps with the immune system, inflammation, regulating blood pressure. These are all some of the positive benefits of cortisol. However, when it's overproduced and there's too much of it in our systems, what ends up happening is we actually tend to actually gain weight is one of the things that happens. Developing of fat tissues. We also see an increased appetite in people with excess levels of cortisol, higher degrees of stress, mental fatigue, and also decreased levels and abilities of concentration are all directly linked to excessive cortisol levels within our systems. Now, during the meditative state, we actually see something very cool happen. We see the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system begin to change places, and the parasympathetic nervous system actually kind of takes the dominant role during meditation. And the parasympathetic nervous system has to do with the alpha brain waves and feelings of being content, of being okay, of being centered, of really feeling one with your experience and what's happening around you. And it happens naturally sometimes. It does happen in the waking state. There's kind of aha moments, feelings of serenity and peace, whether it's walking in the woods, a beautiful romantic encounter with somebody, floating in the ocean, or relaxing. These are all times when the parasympathetic nervous system is really engaged. And we see it come actively into play during levels and states of meditation. And something else, as I was talking before about those alpha brain waves, we actually see some other colorful brain waves come into play during meditation. We actually see the delta brain waves come into play, the gamma brain waves come into play, and the theta wave brain waves come into play. And these are all very special things. The gamma brain waves, they actually have a lot to do with a decrease in emotions like anxiety and fear, and actually an increase in more positive emotions are directly linked with the gamma brain waves. The theta brain waves have a lot to do with that timeless experience that we have when we're so into whatever we're doing, we don't really notice the passage of time. These are the theta brain waves, and we also have the delta brain waves, which really only come into play when we're sleeping. They don't, just like the gamma waves, they don't have a huge role in the waking state, but when we're sleeping, we actually begin to access that level of the unconscious mind, and during deep levels of meditation, we actually see delta waves come into play too. So the brain waves also begin to change in the meditative state. So with this being said, it becomes easy to see how meditation can have a lot of positive benefits. You're really expanding your mind, expanding your awareness to different levels of seeing things and experiencing everyday life in your inner world. Now, ways that this can be implemented and be very, very powerful is, in our Western world, we have a lot of go, 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 high stress, high anxiety things in the workplace, our schedules, schoolwork, work, all types of different demands that can be very, very stressful. And if we're acting out of the sympathetic nervous system, producing these excess levels of cortisol, oftentimes we'll have shorter life expectancies. We actually will have probably a more unpleasant experience, I would say. And honestly, things just probably wouldn't be running as smoothly. But if we begin to actively engage a meditative practice and really, really activate this parasympathetic nervous system and take what comes from the meditation practice and really integrate it into our daily life, we can really, really see a decrease in this fight or flight response. So the type of meditation I'm going to be explaining today, there's a lot of them out there, but the type I'm going to be getting into is actually called Zazen, which literally translates into seated meditation. So for Zazen, a person really only needs either a chair, a really firm cushion, or maybe like a yoga block, something sturdy to sit on so their hips are elevated above the knees. And the idea behind this is you want the back to be supported naturally. And through the back being supported naturally, the breath can become automatic in nature. It doesn't have to be regulated by the practitioner. They can simply watch their breathing in and out. The body can do it automatically without the person needing to tell the body to breathe. So the posture is extremely important. In addition to this, it's important to keep, I'll show you right here, it's important to keep the shoulders in line with the hips. And through doing that, it also allows for us not to be hunched over, not to be leaning back. It really allows for a lot more of a sturdy, more confident posture. And on top of this too, there's also a few hand placements, because you got your hands. What are you going to do with these guys? So you can do a few things. You can simply, with the shoulders in line, you can simply rest the hands right on the thighs, or you can actually do a mudra, just a hand gesture. The universal one, which is just the right hand underneath the left hand, and the thumbs touching. This is one hand gesture you can do, and all you do is really, with the shoulders in line with the hips, you just place them right in your lap. You just sit there. And another key part of seated meditation is the gaze. Now, in some forms of meditation, you close your eyes. In seated meditation, it's a little different. You actually keep the eyes open. And the idea is you want to engage the reality around you. You don't want to push reality away or disassociate from the outside world. The idea is really to actively engage it. So you keep the eyes open, and the idea is to gaze down the tip of your nose to whatever space is in front of you. And you don't want to look at any type of particular point or section or anything. You really just want to look at generally what is in front of you without a focus on anything. You're not staring it down. You're really just looking at it. A really soft, gentle gaze is really all that's needed. And on top of that too, the last part about this is the seating position. Now, right now I'm actually sitting in just a typical hard chair. That's appropriate if if you have trouble getting into some of the seating positions. You can get into it. A chair is perfectly fine. If that's what you want to do, by all means do it. There's also, as I was saying, the zafu, or the cushion. These can be used for things like half lotus or full lotus. You just sit on these things, and from there, you proceed to do the following. You would get in that position, shoulders in line, gaze directly in front of you, head slightly tilted down, not up or not like really down, but just slightly down, looking just right down the nose. And this is the typical posture for seated meditation. Now, the idea behind this is you want to find an anchor. An anchor can be something that just keeps you here, no matter what. So, for example, the anchor could be a specific part of the body. It could be your inhale. It could be your exhale. It's something that keeps you grounded in the moment. It could just be the sounds. The sounds could be your anchor. The feeling of your clothing against your body can also be your anchor. Excuse me. So the idea is to find an anchor. And the breath tends to be a very effective one. A lot of practitioners use their breathing. A number of people also use an area called the tanden, which is right below the belly button. I personally use that one combined with my awareness of the breath. I find that these two go hand in hand with one another. So I personally allow my breathing in and the gap between the inhale and the exhale, and my breathing out combined with the tanden to be my anchor. And it sounds more complicated than it actually is. It's pretty. If you practice it, I'm sure you may find it effective. You just keep the awareness on the tanden, keep the awareness too also on the inhale, the gap between the inhale and the exhale, the gap between the exhale and the inhale, and the tanden at the same time. And the idea is that while you're keeping your awareness on these things, that the mind is going to throw at you, thoughts, emotions, feelings, whatever it does. And the outside world's going to have distractions, maybe some people talking, music playing, cars driving by, what have you. And the idea is that your mind, being your mind, will try and dive into these things because they're stimulating, they're entertaining. It'll try and do anything it can to escape from what's happening right now. So it'll go into those things. It'll tell itself stories. It does what it does. So the idea is when you see the mind going out and trying to do these things,
you simply bring your awareness back to the anchor without judging anything, without judging the fact that you weren't watching your anchor. You see that you weren't paying attention, or that you were going into the story, and you just come right back. It's no big deal. And the idea is to do this for as long as you can. Simply come right back to your breathing, come right back to the tanden. And each time you distract yourself, each time you go into a story or discursive thinking, list making, these trivial stuff, or maybe some serious stuff, or maybe some beautiful stuff. It could be anything. No matter what it is, any type of thing that takes you away from your anchor, bring yourself right back. And the idea is to do this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long you want to. And it is a practice. It can be aggravating, can be frustrating, can be enjoyable, it can be a number of things. So the more you practice this, the easier you'll find it gets. Sometimes when people initially practice, they say their mind gets loud or it gets crazier. And oftentimes what's actually happening is people are just cultivating a greater awareness of what's already happening inside of them. They just didn't notice it before because they were wrapped up in it. And being able to engage that parasympathetic nervous system, they're able to take that step back and see objectively what's been happening inside of them. And the more a person's able to do this, the more calm a person can get, the more understanding, the more in a sense heart-centered a person can become. It's a very good practice for cultivating things like that, because it puts a huge emphasis on non-judgment. If you see all these things your mind presents to you. Some are positive, some are negative, some you've labeled this, you've labeled it that. The idea is to not judge any of it. It's just to see it, whether it's good or bad or beautiful or ugly, just to see it and then come right back to the anchor, no matter what it is, just to keep coming back. And through doing that, people seem to really enjoy life, in a great way. And it's personally helped me out tremendously. I personally meditate at least 15 minutes every day, and I find it to be a very valuable resource. I find it to be extremely exciting. I actually look forward to doing it. On days where I don't do it, I'm like, oh man, I missed meditation this morning. I hope I can do it tonight, or I just got to get to it tomorrow. It's something that I really look forward to. And sometimes it can be aggravating, honestly. Sometimes it can be a stressful practice. Sometimes it can be boring. Sometimes your mind will be like, man, I want to stop meditating. And the idea is, if your mind's saying that while you're meditating, to not give into it, to not really to buy into the story that's associated with it and act it out. The idea is to actually just see that I don't want to do this as another thought, and seeing it as another thought, you come back to your anchor and keep going. So it gets very powerful. It's very, very cool. You see that you don't have to give in to anything, really. You really see you don't have to cave ever for anything, and this is one of the greatest things about it. So I'm just going to demonstrate for you guys what seated meditation looks like, how to go about it, and then take it there. Do it yourselves. Have fun with it.
Alright guys, so I'm going to show you what seated meditation looks like, just so you can get a general idea, and start practicing on your own if it's something you guys feel like you'd enjoy doing. So with me, I have the yoga block, and this is it's just what I choose to sit on. I don't have a zafu or a sturdy cushion, so this tends to work sufficiently well. If you guys have one of these, you don't have to spend money on a special cushion or anything. This works fine. So you just place it here, and you get into either half lotus or full lotus. Again, if you can't do these poses, a chair is fine too. So you get into half lotus or full lotus. I personally do half lotus, so I'm not flexible for full yet. And get down. You move the sit bones, which are pretty much your butt cheeks, the pelvic bones, the girdles, and you really get comfortable, centered. You want to make sure you're sturdy. And from here, your back is able to get in a naturally supportive posture, where you're not keeping your back straight. It literally just becomes straight. Maybe a little bit of stretching, especially some back stretches before this, can be very, very effective if you have some back problems. Now the idea is to, like I said, to keep the shoulders in line with the hips. So to do that, and to actually do the hand gesture too, the mudra, you would just keep the shoulders here, drop your arms for a moment, and then actually lift your arms by the elbows, do the mudra, and then just drop it in your lap like this. And this is, in a sense, the body posture. Now for the head, Like I was saying, keep the head slightly tilted downwards, not super low or super high, just slightly down. And the idea is to look down the nose to whatever's in front of you. Maybe it's a spot on the floor, a spot on the wall, maybe an object. If you want to gaze near an object, that's appropriate too. Maybe a flower or crystal or something. That totally works. Remember, the idea is not to focus narrowly on the object. It's just to keep an awareness and an openness to this visual space that's in front of you. And then from here, you would place the awareness maybe on the heart, on the tendon, on the breath, and allow that to be your anchor. And keep the awareness there. Allow it to be your grounding. And every time a thought or emotion comes up, a sensation, a distraction, something maybe from the outside world, just notice it. Every time you see yourself going into it, and then bring your awareness back to your anchor. And do this for as long as is comfortable for you. You can set an alarm, have fun with it, and I think you may find some very positive benefits. Again, it can be a little frustrating at first. Take it slow. It is a practice. It does take some hard work, but I firmly have a good feeling if you practice this daily, you'll see some of these benefits I was talking about, and a lot of the interesting experiences that can take place from integrating a solid meditation practice into your daily life. 15 minutes a day, definitely for optimal results. You can always practice longer. Maybe if your schedule doesn't allow for it, you can practice a little bit shorter, but a solid 15 minutes, not too much to ask. So, guys, I wish you well and have fun sitting. See ya.